Hi, I'm Kimbra in Los Angeles, California, and I'm talking with Kelly in Rock Springs, Wyoming. Kelly, what's your rant today?
Oh gosh. Well, you know what? The one thing I really hate is when people text and drive, and everybody hates that, right? Because we know it causes accidents. But what I really, really hate is when they're texting anyway, but they're going really slowly. So
Yeah,
you can see that they're texting. I've even tried to do that, and I end up just pulling over. You might as well just pull over and do it because you can't text and drive. It's not possible. It comes out really weird unless if you do the text to speech. So anyway, I can always tell when I'm behind someone, they're texting, they're going really slow and they're weaving all over the road, unless maybe they're drinking. You can tell they're looking down and everything. And we know it causes accidents, and we know
right.
people die in car accidents, and I think it's just really selfish for people to do that. So that's my rant for the day.
Well, yeah, I think that's a lot of people's rants. But I mean, no, my mother used to always complain about that all the time. She was like the text, Gestapo. He's texting.
Yeah.
But my rant is very similar. Well, not similar, but it's on the same vein, is like driving, right? And you know when people cut in front of you because they realize they're going to miss their exit or whatever, and they just kind of like, without turning the signal on, but they just kind of hurry up and get in front of you. And I'm usually pretty cool about it if I'm not, if I'm not in a super big hurry. So I always let people go, but I always expect a little like, thank you,
Yeah.
when they don't
Yeah.
do that thank you, I get really pissed.
Yeah.
Like, I just was, real cool about it. Like most,
Rude.
yeah, and most people are not cool about that stuff because they get really, oh my God, he just cut right in front of me. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty easygoing about that stuff. But I just want that little acknowledgement, like, thank you
Mm-hmm.
for doing that. But they're so concerned about themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that. And when you're driving, especially on the Los Angeles freeways, that is not the time
Right.
to be selfish, to be
Yeah.
not considerate of everyone else on the road.
Oh my God.
So,
I've seen really nice people that I know are not, do not have anger management problems turn into big road ragers, like people in my life, that are just super, they get super,
oh, I can get some road rage. Yeah, I've made some gestures at some people that weren't very kind a couple times and on the freeways in LA. Now here in Wyoming, it's very different, and I've lived in a few different cities. The city I'm in right now, I love this city because it's got the big city feel, but it's a small town.
Mhm.
They drive like maniacs here. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm back in LA. Because I got used to driving real slow. The other cities that I lived in, everybody was real slow. I lived in Rawlins, Wyoming for a while, and there it's a super small town, and everybody drives below the speed limit. Like people are going 20 miles an hour all the time because, well, one reason is because there's a lot of wildlife. There's deer that'll be
Yeah,
walking across
that's
the street in
true.
front of you.
Yeah.
I don't know how I saw so many dogs. There were dogs on the loose all the time, and they had owners, but they just got loose. And so you really learn to drive slowly. So when I came to Rock Springs, I was frightened because I had to step it up and be a little bit more defensive driver and learn to drive a little more aggressively again. Because yeah, people just run you over here.
That's very much like Washington State or even Oregon. There's a lot of deer. You'll be on the road, and I saw all of a sudden a deer will come into the road, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh. I know many people that have gotten in accidents with deer that
Yeah.
just meandered on.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but when I first moved here, I hit a deer. And
Mm.
I was so traumatized. It was my first day going to my new job. And I pulled over and bawled my eyes out. And I guess the deer didn't get hurt. He dented my car a little bit, but I think it's just stunned him because he got up and just trotted off.
Yeah, that
So,
happens a lot.
he was tough and I wasn't going that fast, but it was pretty traumatic for me. So I'm extra careful. I look out for the deer all the
You
time.
don't have to worry about the pedestrians there so much. It's the wildlife.
Yeah, if I hit a couple people, who cares? I just don't want to hit a deer or a dog, heaven forbid.
I
Yeah.
know, I know.
Yeah.
So, um, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, we were talking about a couple different things. I think one super sweet, spicy topic would be Russell Brand.
Ooh, yeah,
You up to talk about that, Hottie?
sure. I know we talked about him, privately in the past, and then I saw this video that he did with regarding mainly Donald Trump a few days ago. I think I sent it to you, right? And I was really impressed with that video. He's definitely evolved as a a speaker and a thinker. I feel like he's really always trying to become a better person and be a deeper thinker on issues that maybe you think you've thought about before, and he re-examines them in a different way. What do you think?
Well, that's why I love him, because one of my biggest complaints is people are always looking on the surface and they watch TV, and what they hear is what they believe, and they don't think deeper. And what we hear on TV is what they want us to hear and want us to believe. Whereas why I like Russell Brand is he dissects it and he takes it on a deeper level. I always say you have to look at the big picture. You can't just look at one thing. And what he did with that video, I had already posted that video with Donald Trump on my Facebook page because I had seen it too. I watch a lot of Russell Brand's videos, and he was dissecting how we react to Donald Trump. And this is one of the things I always say with the media. The media focuses on the trivial parts of him, and not the policy, not what he's, and they do this with all politicians. And then they're doing it with Joe Biden right now too. They're focusing on the trivial parts instead of the very dangerous parts of both of these men. We're not focusing on what the policy.
Exactly, and then it becomes trivial and personal as opposed to about deeper politics and policy.
Well, how it's going to really affect our lives, which is what politicians do, and that's the interest we should have in them, not who they sleep with. I mean, yes, we want to select politicians who have good morals and principles, but who they sleep with doesn't affect our lives. The policies that they enact and implement and promote are what affects our lives. And so the media tends to focus on these other trivial things. And then we all get caught up in it and don't pay attention to the really dangerous things that they are possibly doing.
And you know, what's interesting about Russell Brand is I was doing some research on him, and I found that he had a lot of his old comedy routines, I guess, involved, you know, certain making fun of politicians like George W. Bush, and he would fun of it, just kind of what he's talking about now, but he's evolved. You know, I believe that he's, you know, he says, judge me now on the stuff that I'm doing now. I'm trying to let go of bad habits, bad philosophies, bad everything. I'm trying to change. That's what I like about him. Is he's always trying to become it seems like he's always trying to become a better person. You know?
Yeah, he's who we all should be. He's overcome a lot. You know, he had his drug addiction problem. But I think he's probably always been a thinker, because you don't just all of a sudden one day become a thinker. Although, you know, I don't know. Sometimes things can change, and your life can take a different trajectory and just cause you to start thinking on a deeper level rather than just a superficial level. I know I was a thinker as a child. In my 20s, probably caught up in the superficial surface part of life. And then as I matured, I became more of a deep thinker again, you know, pondering what and why and how and who and all that. So
my father was a father of, he was sort of involved in the hippie movement, and he went to college in the late 60s. So, you know, with me, when he had his first child, he was like, you know, I was constantly being challenged by a lot of thought-provoking questions. My father would torture me sometimes, where I, you know, when you're a child of someone like that, you're like, shut up. But, you know, I think it molded.
You told me, I think that's so cute. You told me how you'd be driving in the car with him and he'd quiz you on things that you'd be like, I'm a kid.
I know. Well, he was, he always wanted, my father was not like the typical father. Most parents don't like to talk about uncomfortable things, you know, that's in the past, you know, always want to sweep it under the rug type thing. My father was the type of person that liked to always bring up uncomfortable things, and he'd say, let's talk about this, we've got it. And so it was just good, but sometimes he would beat it to, you know, to the ground, and I'd be like, enough already, because he was a debater. My father died young, as you know. He died young of a brain tumor, but he's not with us anymore. But he definitely was a thinker. You know, that was his big thing. He would go to coffee shops and read, you know, books on philosophy all by himself. And then, so as a kid, he was always bringing up, you know, things that we're talking about all the time, like communism versus socialism. So my father, I was a child of one of those. He was kind of like a Bernie Sanders type, but not quite as, you know, he didn't look anything like Bernie.
Loud.
What?
Not quite as loud.
Not quite as loud. No, definitely not loud. So all my friends who've met him would always say, "Your dad was such a cool guy." So it's
Uh-huh.
definitely a cool thing to have a parent like that, because it doesn't it's not unusual for me to investigate things from all sides because of that reason, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but getting back to Russell Brand, he reminds, my dad was kind of like that too, because he was, you know, he really was interested in Eastern philosophy and Eastern religion. And I know that Russell Brand is, I don't want to say experimenting, but he's involved with the Hare Krishna movement. That's what it said in his bio anyway. So, you know, it's kind
Yeah,
of,
he's gone to the Middle East. He's met the Dalai Lama, and you know, he's exploring, I think, all religions. I don't think he has
mm,
one religion that he follows, but he's, from what I, you know, I don't mean to talk like I know him, but I have watched a lot of his videos. I saw one today. He was with Eckhart Tolle,
yeah,
and I love him. And they were talking about the ego, which is my big thing. I feel like once you can learn to identify your ego, you know, the ego, it can be, it's a really good thing for us. It's what drives us to be great and to be good and to be productive and do more with our lives. But it's also causes us to be selfish and competitive and considerate of others and all that. So Eckhart Tolle was talking about it, and you know, how to use it to your advantage and how to identify it. I remember when I first started being able to identify my ego, I was like, that's my ego talking. That's not who I am. That's not the good Kelly who cares about everyone else. It was me selfishly.
that's true.
Um,
I'm in that first phase. I can identify. I just haven't been able to change it yet.
Overcome it. Well,
You know,
sometimes I can't either.
I recognized it very early on that that's my ego. I
Uh-huh.
just haven't been able to change it. But
Yeah.
that's the first step. When you see that it's your ego and you know you're coming from that place, it's a lot easier to at least recognize how you're going to handle the situation. I think you don't take it
Yeah.
as personally in some ways, because I look
Yes.
at ego as like
Yes.
an entity. That's my ego.
Yeah. And you become more self-aware. And yeah, he was just talking about how you what you focus on in life. And in some way, like, you know, in Hollywood, I saw people with really, really big egos, and they would be very successful. And I think the ego is what drove them to be successful. They would trample anyone to get ahead. You know, they probably did some unscrupulous things to get ahead. My ego always got in the way because I was like, well, I can't do that. Or your conscience, whatever you want to call it, your conscience.
Consciousness.
But being self-aware makes you a better, more pleasant person. Not that I'm always pleasant, because my ego still sometimes rules me, but I do think it's a good thing to examine. I think Russell Brand has done a lot of that. Hey, did you see the video of him and his wife? Have you
No,
ever, did you see it? Oh
no.
my gosh. You have to look it up. You have to watch it. They are the cutest couple ever. She's gorgeous. I guess they have 2 kids,
Oh,
and they are so cute together. Their interaction together is just amazing. The chemistry.
so it's
It's
like
really cute. I think they were making something. I can't remember what it was that they were making. It was maybe like, I don't know, some little cool Play-Doh things or something. But anyway, it's a really cute video, and you can see why they're married and why he married her, and she is attracted to him.
yeah, it
They're just
sounds like he really
gorgeous.
has evolved. You know, I only know public things that have been posted about him.
Right.
I remember I was, oh, years ago when he was married to Katy Perry. I had read that he divorced. She publicly said he divorced her by via text. You know, I'm divorcing you. And I remember thinking at the time, oh my God, that's the coldest thing anyone could ever do. I mean, texting anybody about any serious situation is never a good thing, because texting always comes across, you know, whether it's I fire you or, you know, whatever it is, I believe people should call, you know, or
Especially something like that should be done probably even face to
yeah,
face.
I was just going to say one person.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
on, you know, to give him some kudos, I also read that he was entitled to like half of her 44 million, I think they said she made while they were married, and he didn't take any of her money. And I thought, I mean, he
Well,
didn't
that's
need to,
good.
he's got his own
Yeah.
money, but
Right.
I thought
Right.
that was very cool. You know, some
Yeah.
people
I do too. I do
maybe
too.
wouldn't have the
Yeah.
ethics or whatever you want to call it to do that.
Yeah. Well, the purpose of that, of in a marriage, when one person gives up their career to support the other person's career to raise kids, and he hadn't really done that for her,
That's
so
true.
there was no, she didn't do it for him, so there's no reason really to um, gi- give up any of the money.
Yeah, that's true. But it's still nice that he didn't even
Yeah.
want any of it, because
Yeah.
that just would just really, because he's got his own money. He's got a real thriving career. It seems like he's
Yeah.
doing more political activism now, do you think,
Yeah.
than even like,
Yeah. Well, I would say maybe spiritual, soul searching kind of. He's got the video channel, and I don't know what other platforms he's using, but I know he uses YouTube. Um, and I think he's really just focusing on doing those videos and probably just taking time for his own personal growth. See, he's raising kids. He's probably enjoying being a husband and a father and staying home with his kids too. So
I
probably keep him
actually
busy.
I actually read that, and I don't have any of his books, but his first book was called Bookie Wook. And then the second one was
Really?
Bookie Wook 2. This time it's
Oh, yeah.
personal. And I want to get some of his books. And then he had one come out this year that's called what is it called? It's Mentors: How to Help and Be Helped. Yeah, that one came out, I think, this
Yeah.
2019 actually. So I want to get a couple of his books. I'm sure they would be very entertaining.
Oh yeah, I bet. Well, he's so deep. I can just listen to him talk forever because he's so deep, and the things that come out of his mouth really make you think, and I love that. I think he's a force to be reckoned with, and he's, making a good mark in the world rather than just being a superficial, actor or whatever. Not that actors don't make a mark too.
And it's
Um,
funny, when I saw him, the only movie I ever saw him in was what was it? Chasing Sarah Marshall? Is that the name of the movie? Chasing Sarah Marshall.
I
Uh,
never saw that one.
Chasing Sarah Marshall. I wrote it down somewhere here. That's the only movie that I've ever seen him in. And to be honest with you, I didn't, uh, let's see, what's it called? Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Sorry, forgetting.
Okay.
That I didn't. I mean, I thought he was okay. I thought he was just kind of like sort of typecast, and I didn't really think. I know this is terrible of me, but just seeing from that movie, I wouldn't have thought he was a deep thinker. So, and
Yeah.
that's very shallow
Yeah.
of me, right, to judge him that way. But now that I've seen all these videos he's done, I was just like, wow, he's really
Yeah.
smart.
I saw him in, was it Richie Rich? I think Richie Rich with Richie Rich with, I think Helen Mirren was his keeper, nanny, whatever.
Oh, that would be a funny idea. Funny
It
concept.
was hysterical, hysterical. He reminds me of a guy that I used to date, and I won't mention who he is because he's a
We don't
really
want to
good
hurt
guy
his
too.
feelings.
But he looks like Russell Brand a little bit. He's fun when he's drunk, likes to party, likes to drink. But anyway, yeah, Richie Rich, I think that was it. Richie Rich was I think he was this spoiled rich guy who was, or no, Arthur. It was Arthur. It wasn't Richard
Oh,
Rich.
they
It was
remade
Arthur.
Arthur. Yeah, they remade
The
Arthur.
one Dudley Moore had done. Dudley Moore did it in like the
Yeah,
80s or something.
it was a
Yes,
remake.
Arthur. Yeah. Oh my God, that was hysterical. And then another one, getting him to the Greek or
Yes,
something.
getting him
Something
to
about
the
the Greek.
Greek and getting him to the Greek too. I think there was two of them.
I just saw the first one and it was hysterical. That character was hysterical, and maybe more so for me because I have a guy that I'm friends with that is like that, kind of.
A lot of Russell Brand type people.
Yeah, yeah. And the guy that I'm talking about, he's really good looking, loves to party, fun drunk, and he's pretty deep too. So
But
maybe there's something to drinking. I don't know.
before I watched Bill Maher, one time I saw him, he was on as a guest. He's on there from time to time, and that was the first time I was really impressed with his interview with Bill Maher. And Bill Maher was like, a lot of odd things and words, meanings, and concepts that I wouldn't think as an actor, comedian you would know. And he said, I'm a public of the British public school system. And I thought that was very interesting, because I'm sure when he grew up at that time, the school system.
Yeah, he has a big vocabulary, very big vocabulary.
He does, and he speaks very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, though, he had a really kind of a hard upbringing, from what I've read. He was raised by his mom, and he had a kind of tumultuous relationship with his stepfather, which got him into trouble. So all that angst is usually good for comedic fare.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he's having a good life now and definitely making changes in the world. I hope a lot of people see his videos, and especially troubled people, and maybe those books, being a mentor for troubled people who are, into drugs and alcohol. Maybe he can help them too. So good for him. Good for him for wanting more out of life. I think, people get so caught up in the superficial parts of life, um, that most people don't look any deeper. They're just always chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
And he just seems like he's like, once I had enough money, like what more is there? He wants more out of life. So good lesson for everyone to learn. There's more to life than just fame and
I wish
money.
we had more people like him. He's had, some controversy in the past too. He's gotten fired from many shows for saying controversial things, but I always thought
Which
they
ones? I don't know. I never heard that.
I had read he was on the BBC and he got fired. It was a BBC show. It was actually his show, I guess, for obscene behavior. Just, I think it was
Oh,
things he said. Then he made a joke
uh-huh.
on some show where it was God, that famous designer. There's a famous designer that designed actually that he had designed things for the Nazis, and Russell Brand said something like, "Well, you have to admit the Nazis were very fashionably dressed," and he did like a Nazi walk on stage, and I think he got in trouble for that too. So,
I never heard that. He's a funny guy. What a character.
yeah.
Wow, I never
Oh,
knew that.
and also he opened a cafe. I read it's called True Era Cafe, TREW. I guess that's how you pronounce it, True Era Cafe, and it
Uh-huh.
employs recovering drug addicts.
Good for him. Where is it?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm going to have to look it up. Maybe it's in England. I don't know. We'll have to
Yeah.
look it up.
I wonder where he lives. I wonder if he lives in LA now or if he's over in.
He's probably got houses in both, wouldn't you think?
Yeah,
I mean,
probably. Probably.
I
He's
mean,
going back and forth.
he does so much stuff here that it'd be hard to fly back and forth all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
Well,
I should look it up because we should go there. The True Era Cafe.
Eric Cafe. Yeah, he was doing a show called The True News or something. The Trues or something like that.
But how was it spelled? Do you know? It wasn't TREW.
Yeah, I think TREW. I don't know really. It was something like True News or Trues or True News.
You like that?
You like play on that. So
Yeah.
the truth. He's about, that's why I like him too. He's about getting to the truth because, we're so polarized these days. In fact, I'm a little distracted. I had someone send me a video earlier that they want me to watch, and it's about, I know it's about a man who's talking about the polarization, and I know her goal is to get me to see her side, but she's not seeing the other side, and that's what so many people do. They just want to force their side on you, and I'm guilty of it too, without seeing the other side. But I always see the other side. I do. I think I'm pretty good at that, and that's what I like about him. Because when you're trying to just arrive, you're not trying to win and you're not trying to be part of a team. You're just trying to get at the truth and make life better for people. I think that's, where he comes from. And I think that's definitely where it would be great if more of us came from that place, but we don't.
Right. Which goes back to the Donald Trump video. I thought it was very interesting because, Donald Trump is such an easy target that you can make fun of all day long, like they used to do with George W. Bush. But he was saying how when you do that, you're, like I said, you're making it personal and you're just talking about trivial things as opposed to deeper things. And so he didn't just make a video attacking Donald Trump on his things that everybody normally does, but he was looking at it in a bigger way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he has the knack for that, and I really respect him. That's
like he wants to take something and dig it.
Yeah, well, you always have to look and say, but why is this? Why is that? Why? You just keep asking, why do they do this? Yeah, it's wrong for somebody to steal. Yes, that's wrong, period. So we should punish them. But why did they steal? Is there a valid reason? Is there a good reason? Why? And then if we know it's a certain reason, then how can we fix it? How can we help them become a better person? Just like drug addicts. Why are they drug addicts? How can we help them? And that's something that I don't claim to be an expert on, but why? How does someone become a drug addict? How can we improve our society so that not so many people are addicted to drugs?
Well, like my one friend who's in AA, she always, which, it's a term everybody knows, she calls it self-medicating, and usually people self-medicate when they have a pain or a hole in something they're trying to fill, a void they're trying to fill. And I feel like a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics have some, a lot of them were molested. That seems to be a problem with a lot of people that got into drugs at an early age. Sometimes their parents, there's been a few occasions I've heard about where their parents kind of got them into drugs, like Robert Downey Jr. says that his dad started getting stoned with him when he was really young, and then it just makes it seem normal, and then you start doing drugs. So that is one scenario, but I know more people that have had some kind of tragedy in their life that they're trying to fill the void. And
Right.
it's a good
to bury the pain instead of addressing it. That's why we have to say why. What is it that caused you to want to bury that pain instead of addressing it, living through it, exercising it?
Yeah. We all have pain to a certain degree, I believe. For me, music was always an escape for me. That's why I got involved in music, because I would just play music all the time when I was like 12, 13. My father was also very influential about guiding me, because he liked certain musicians. So he'd say, you got to listen to this person. You got to listen to that person, But then when I found out I could sing, I was like, I can kind of sound like that person. But luckily I was right. I wasn't like just delusional, like, I sound just like this person.
Yeah.
That's what got me. So for me, music was a great outlet, which I think a lot of people, the arts are that way too. A lot of, like Russell Brand, I think he got into comedy, because comedy is a great cathartic. When you have a lot of pain, you want to make people laugh. And then plus it makes you feel better.
And even because I can't sing at all. I love your voice. I love to hear you sing. And that can be cathartic for people too, just to hear other people. That's why we watch movies as an escape. We're watching other people live. We're living through them. Comedy makes us laugh. Music, moves us in different ways. So, hats off for people in the arts. I have great respect for people that pursue it.
And that's why I believe like the arts should be kept alive even in really tough times in the economy, because it's not just a frivolous thing that rich people want to do or can afford. It helps people to in an escape, but it also documents things that are going on in society too.
Right.
I think it's a necessary thing that we should keep in our school systems. Even
for sure. And even even if you're not good at it, just to experiment. When you're a kid, you're taking art class and you're drawing and painting and being creative, because throughout life there's going to be times when you need to be creative, whether it's at your job or with your kids or just expressing yourself. So I think the arts are undervalued in our society.
I agree. I believe in America. That's one of the, I love America. Oh, but happy 4th of July.
Happy 5th of July.
Yeah, happy 4th of July. I do love America. I mean, I'm a patriotic person. I just feel though that one of the things that we're not so good about is we put money, the bottom line of the dollar, above everything most of the time, and that we don't value things that they don't seem to appear as a money-making endeavor. Sometimes you need things that don't equate to money to keep health and soul together.
Well, our patriotism is superficial. It's all symbolic. The flag, people freak out over burning the flag, but they don't seem to have a problem with a cop shooting someone who's not armed. It's like, well, what was he doing? It doesn't matter what he was doing. He's handcuffed and laying on the ground right now. You don't kill him.
Good point.
So I do think we tend to, even on both sides, we make symbolic gestures for things instead of real change that would actually change lives and improve the issues that we're all fighting and arguing about all the time. Nobody does anything to change it. So anyway, and I bet Russell Brand would agree with me on that.
It starts with the individual, love. That's what
yeah, and it does. It does.
Yeah, it's like we got to practice what we preach, right? Small little changes to make the world a better place. Anyways, well, I am going to go off now to prepare for my big post 4th of July barbecue.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not.
Okay. Have a good time. I didn't know you were going to do a barbecue today. So cool.
Barbecue for 2. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
You're your stepfather. Okay.
We have some family over here.
Oh, good. That's good.
Right.
Well, nice chatting with you, Kimbra.
Yes, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.